On this week's show, Peloton adds assembly fees, and Ali Love announced the birth of her son.
Plus, a new Peloton triathlon event will take place next month. There's a Labor Day sale on hardware, and much, much more.
Welcome to Pelo Buddy TV, a show for the Peloton community by the Peloton community. Here are your hosts, Amanda Siegel and Chris Lewis.
Welcome to episode 235 of Pelo Buddy TV, a show for the Peloton community by the Peloton community. I'm Amanda Siegel, and I am joined by Mr. Pelo Buddy himself, Chris Lewis. Hey, Chris.
Hey, Amanda. How's it going?
It is good. It is good. Crazy. And, it's kind of that end of summer, frenetic being.
Of course.
Yeah. You got back this side of the Pacific.
I did a little, not too bad on the jet lag, so I was able to jump back into things. But just trying to get back used to the real world again is the toughest part.
Right, re-entry is hard. I have to say, and I'm not complaining, but it is definitely hard to come back into reality. But yeah, we seem to be getting things back to normal over at Peloton and the studios. So that's been good to see, with tons of stuff popping up and a lot to share with this week. So
yeah, they're definitely getting back into the swing of things too with all the stuff they're dropping.
For sure. So why don't we go right into it? As always, folks, before we get started with the news, we always like to just remind you how you can keep up to date with all of our content across all of our platforms. Every episode is released on our YouTube channel. Just hit the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand side of the video and hit the notify button to make sure you never miss an episode.
And we're also on all traditional podcast platforms. Just search for us as Pelo Buddy TV, and you can find us and listen to us on your favorite podcast network. And as a reminder, the show is free, but if you do want to support the show, we are also on Patreon. If you want to get your episodes a little bit early, you can sign up as a subscriber on Patreon and get your show, a day or two early that way.
Nice. And all social media platforms, we're on Facebook, Instagram, X. Just search for Pelo Buddy and follow us on all of those platforms for all of the latest news. And now, Chris, let's get on with the show.
First, let's do a rundown of the latest Pelo news.
All right. Well, our top story this week is that after months and seems like a year almost of teasing that Peloton is going to be doing some price adjustments, they finally started. But this was not a true traditional price increase per se. They're able to say this is just a new fee. What they've done is they've rolled out new expert assembly fees to their devices, which effectively is a price increase, but it's added on as a fee. So up until now, when you ordered a Peloton device, it came with free assembly by Peloton. You ordered it, you got them to bring it to your house, they brought it inside and set it up. Now what they're doing is they're saying that if you want, they'll still deliver it to your house, but self-assembly is free. And then if you want them to assemble it, there's an add-on fee. So that's now available on the Peloton Bike, Bike Plus, and Tread Plus in the US. So the Bike and Bike Plus have free self-assembly. If you want them to set it up, it's $150 extra. For the Tread Plus, this is a true price increase because there is no self-assembly option for the Tread Plus. It's now just an extra $299 for that self-assembly. For the Row and the Tread, as of right now, they've rolled out the expert assembly fee, but it's currently $0. What they said in the last earnings call is they're going to roll out the self-assembly to those as well, but it seems like that's not quite available yet. So until they actually add the self-assembly option, they're going to keep that extra fee at $0. And then I imagine when they actually add the self-assembly option, they'll tack on that fee, which based on the other pricing, it's probably going to be somewhere between that $150 and $299. So that has rolled out in the US. It is not they've not added it in other markets yet. There's no word on when, and if they will, though you kind of assume they will add that fee everywhere else. One thing to note is that the home trial is still available. So that's normally where you can order a device, try it for 30 days. If you don't like it, you return it for free. Well, the expert assembly fee is not refundable. So if you pick the expert assembly and do the home trial and return it, you're not going to get a refund on that expert assembly price, unfortunately. So they've got a couple FAQs about it, but long story short, if you want Peloton to assemble it, it's going to cost a little bit more than it did before now.
All right. Interesting. Very interesting. Do you want to just kind of make one correction there? Because you had said for Tread Plus, no self-assembly. I think just in giving all that information, I think you said self-assembly was $299, but there's no self-assembly.
Definitely, yes.
So
no self-assembly
I
and
just wanted
expert
in case
assembly.
somebody caught that.
Thank you.
See, I do listen to you when you talk, Chris. I pay attention.
I'm glad somebody does.
Well, I do. I'm not sure whether Pruitt used to pay attention when I used to talk. I think he used to shut me out. But I do listen to you.
Thanks for keeping me honest.
Exactly. Look, it makes sense. I mean, they have to pay those people. So, I mean, that was coming out of their profits for, for the hardware. So it does make sense.
They have done some playing around with that in the past. I think it was back in 2022. They unbundled shipping and delivery, which added a fee on, and then they later bundled it back in. And now they've unbundled it and tacked that fee on. So they've, over the years played with that at various times. And this isn't necessarily the end of price adjustments. They have talked about there might be others on the way, but this is just the initial bit of it. They're still saying they're optimizing pricing, and we might see other changes, but this is just the first of who knows what else to come.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about it later on in the show with sales, but that's when the sales play a big role in it, because basically you're getting your assembly for free then if you're getting it on sale. And we'll talk about the Labor Day sale later on in the show. All right. Well, moving on, it seems that we now have a little bit more confirmation that the plans for Peloton to expand from 2 to 10 microstore showrooms will in fact happen by the end of 2025. We kind of chatted about it last week. We told you that these microstores were happening, but we've had some clues that have popped up where the next few locations are going to be. There have been some Peloton job postings which kind of reveal the open positions tied to these upcoming retail spaces, which really does give us that hint as to where these new microstores are headed. So what we are seeing is that so far there are 2 microstores in Nashville and Murray, Utah. As we said, there was a 3rd location that is slated to open in Las Vegas. That's been slightly delayed. But these new postings for job offers are in Atlanta, Georgia, Denver, Colorado, Boston, Massachusetts, or Natick, I believe it's pronounced, Seattle, Washington, Short Hills, New Jersey, and Tampa, Florida. Interestingly, most of these cities previously had full-size Peloton showrooms in them that were closed during the company's large-scale retail downsizing efforts, which means that Peloton is pretty much returning back to their kind of familiar territory, and even into some of the same malls that they had been in previously. So that kind of gives you a better idea. It is, as we explained last year, we spoke about it a lot last week, at least last year. We spoke about it a lot last week, kind of giving you an understanding of what this means. It's not going to be, a full-size store. It's going to be this micro store in a mall, kind of like a pop-up is the best way to describe it.
But with the caveat that these they're not planned to be pop-ups. Like they seem to be, they're not just here for 3 months, like a true pop-up like they're doing in Australia.
Correct.
And one other thing to note is that while many of these might go back to the same malls, in some cities, it seems like they're actually exploring different malls. So if they were in one mall in those towns, some of them, they'll go back to the same one. We saw that in Nashville, but there's a chance in some of these other cities that as they're doing these micro stores, they'll actually put the locations in a different mall than they were before, but in the same city. So we'll have to wait and see the exact malls and locations they go to in these cities. But, they're gearing up to open. They hope to have these open by the holiday season. Because if they have refreshed products, some people are going to want to get their hands on them, and this will be a good way for people to be able to check those out.
Yeah. All right, good.
Yeah. Well, speaking of expansion and people checking things out, Peloton is laying the groundwork for future international expansion. In the most recent earnings call, Peloton talked about how they're planning to meet members anywhere, and they actually specifically talked about their international plans. And I'll just read to you exactly what they said. They said, internationally, we plan to deliver local and language experiences using a mix of native instruction, AI dubbing, and more flexible approaches to music for thousands of classes. Through partnerships, we aim to introduce the Peloton brand and experiences to millions of people around the world. Together, we believe these actions lay the groundwork for future cost-effective launches of the full Peloton offering and new geographies. And it's that line at the end, which is kind of different than what they said before. I'll just say it again. Launches of the Peloton offering, the full Peloton offering and new geographies. When they've talked about expansion in the past, they've kind of alluded to, well, we've got the app. We can expand the app to some of these other countries relatively easily, and they may still do that. But it seems like they're talking about, bringing devices to other countries. But I think it'll be more like the model they've done in Austria and now Germany, and that they might not have their own showrooms and you might not order from Peloton themselves. They'll use those third-party partners like FitShop and Amazon. So they'll launch on Amazon in these new countries, and you'll go to Amazon in that country to order it. And, they teased AI dubbing, they teased native instructions. So, will we get some French speaking instructors? Who knows? Or will they just do AI dubbing of the language? We'll have to wait and see for that. But it definitely seems like they're still planning to get out there to some other countries. We've not seen a new country launch in about 3 years. And they've been teasing it for a while now. They keep talking about it. It seems like every 6 months or so. So it definitely seems like something that's still, on the horizon for them. But we'll just have to keep an eye out for what new markets they launch in.
All right. Yeah. It's exciting though. I mean, it kind of is exciting to think that they'd be going, a little bit more international, which would be good. Yeah. All right. Well, this was kind of interesting. Peloton is introducing something brand new this fall. It's called the Peloton Tri, a triathlon style event, which is scheduled to take place on Saturday, September the 13th. Matt Wilpers will lead 3 consecutive 30-minute live workouts, one on the row, the tread, and the bike, which makes sense since we see Matt on the row, the tread, and the bike.
Yep.
So that does make sense. Members will be able to join from home or be able to compete in person at Peloton Studios, New York. A special competitor submission form has been opened. And for those who want to go ahead and do it in studio, you do need to fill out.
It's a little late for that one. That closed.
It is. It's closed?
Yep, that already closed by the time we're recording. And the general member spots already opened up for booking.
Got it.
It was interesting how they did it. They opened this in the form that they sent out was invite only. So it was to specific people, to the people who they wanted to do. But then they said, okay, well, if you don't get this form, we're actually going to open up spots to these classes through the general booking process. So great. You can sign up for the Peloton Triathlon. Well, on Thursday when they opened, the way they loaded it was 3 separate classes. So it was physically impossible because of the booking rules for any general public member to be in the classes because you still have the 2 class per day limit. So I thought they might load it as a Peloton Triathlon class, which got you into all 3.
Yeah.
No, for the general public, it was 3 specific classes. So it was impossible for any general member to get into those.
Or people were signing up for 2 and missing out on the 3rd.
Exactly.
Which is then what's the point of the, yeah. So what, I wonder what they ended up doing.
I don't know. I mean, maybe they really only care about their special invite people who get to do the full experience, and people at home and everyone else, you just get to do a little part of it. But they're going to focus on that invite only group of people. I'm not sure.
Sure. All right. We'll have to find out. All right. Well, what they did do though, to help kind of members train, they've introduced or rolled out a Peloton prep collection, with 21 classes. 4 curated stacks combining running, riding, rowing, and stretching, just for folks to kind of build up stamina for the event, so people aren't killing themselves on the 13th. This will really be the first time, though, that Peloton is blending all three of these cardio platforms into one challenge, offering a very unique endurance-packed experience. But I think from what Chris just said, it does sound like it's going to be a very small select group of folks doing it.
But I mean, that's just for the people who are in New York and trying to go in person.
Correct.
For people at home, it's going to be available for take. And I know there's a lot of questions around like, how is this going to be set up? How far apart are they going to be? So it is going to be, the order is going to be the row, the run, and the ride. They're all 30 minutes, and there's only a 5-minute break after each one. So the row is from 9 to 9:30. The run is from 9:35 to 10:05. And then the ride will be from 10:10 to 10:40. So they really are back to back to back. So that'll be interesting to see how they pull that off in the studio. And then, it just seems like it'll be an interesting new event that they're trying to, they've got all these 3 different disciplines, and there's a lot of people who enjoy triathlon. So it makes sense to kind of pull them together like this.
Yeah. I always am curious as to how they pull who they invite to these special events.
A lot of people are curious about that.
Will we ever know?
No.
We won't ever know. All right.
Yeah.
Got it.
Well, also next month, we've got at least 2 new artist series that are going to be taking place. We've got one with Renee Rapp, which is going to be on September 4th. And then we've got one with The Weeknd, which is going to be on September 25th. There's 4 classes for each of those that have been announced so far. Interestingly enough, there's no, now that these take place on Thursdays, the UK studio is closed on Thursdays. So there's no live with member classes from the UK. Now we might see some live without members, and I'm sure we'll see some on-demand at Premiere. So as we get closer, we'll share each week the full list of those classes once it's been announced. And then in addition to those 2, there is a live DJ class from London as well with John Hosking, which is going to be part of the Armada Music Global DJ Residency. And that's going to take place on September 5th. So that same weekend as the Renee Rapp series, we're going to have that Armada class from the UK. Might just be the one. They might have 1 or 2, but we'll just have to wait and see for that one.
Yeah, so interesting, because I'm actually going to be... I'll be in the studio the weekend of my birthday, which is the 20th, like the 19th, 20th. And I was, when I knew that there were new artist series being loaded, I sat there like refreshing, hoping that something would pop up on that Thursday. And there was nothing for that weekend.
I mean, they still might. Maybe they'll do a 2-week early Taylor Swift. No.
Maybe.
Probably won't get access to that one early. It'll probably have to wait.
Yes. Oh, that will definitely be right. The other, but it's interesting that you said that about the PSL. I'm about to talk about it in this artist series that they just had this past week, but they did open up the studio on Thursday in London for this last one. So let's talk about that. So the disco vibes were truly turned up with the brand new Bee Gees Artist Series, which did drop this past Thursday, the 21st. Very, very interesting. And I did not realize that until I did the classes. And I actually ended up doing Mariana's yoga. And then John had his walkless run, and Leanne had her ride. And I'll talk about them now in a minute. But I had never realized that the Bee Gees had never been played on the platform.
I hadn't either.
Today was the first time they've ever played the Bee Gees. They made a really big fuss about that, bringing it up numerous times in the classes. Mariana spoke about it a lot, and I forget his name. Is it Tim? The producer? Oh God, you don't know his name. Kalodrin, I think it is, or something. Mariana mentioned him a couple times. And, was very proud of the fact that they finally got access to the rights of Bee Gees music, because there's so many disco classes that they do, and now you can add this in. So, just to kind of recap this particular artist series, the Bee Gees came live to Peloton. The lineup included 6 classes, across 5 modalities. We had cycling, running, yoga, rowing, and strength. And it was a mix of live sessions and on-demand drops. So the day started with an exhilarating shimmying from Yoga Flow with Mariana, who was in a Brittany Allen getup that was absolutely gorgeous. She looked beautiful. She really did look stunning. And then we got a noon Mila Lazar German language ride. So that was on the German platform, just the one class. It was then followed by the live walk plus run in Club Husky with John at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And then next door in PSL Studio 1, Leanne Hainsby Oldest followed that with a ride at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. There were also 2 premier drops. There was a full body strength with Rebecca Kennedy and then a row with Bex Gentry. So whether you're rowing, riding, or flowing, Peloton wants to make sure you are staying alive with the BGs.
It's interesting. They originally, the John Hosking class was originally at 1 p.m. 1:30 p.m., which was the same exact time as Leanne. So it's a good thing they adjusted that by 30 minutes earlier so people who wanted to had the chance to do both.
And I ended up actually walking the ride because I walked. It was too hot. I did it outside. So, it was a beautiful day here in Maryland. And, I ended up doing the walk of John's outside. And it was like, I just flipped over to the cycle, which was nice to be able to do that. And I just walked the cycle to come back home. So that was kind of fun to do. But, I didn't realize they were actually at the same time. So they ended up adjusting that.
Yep.
Yeah. And of course, you'll be able to earn that special Artist Series 2 badge. For this particular one. It was a fun one. It was a really, they were all, Leanne looked stunning. And that bump is definitely showing. She showed it off in her Instagram.
Nice.
And John with his sequin top that he said he wasn't quite expecting it to chafe as much as it had. Did you hear him say that?
No, but it's not surprising.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. But yeah, fun Artist Series.
Nice. Well, we have a new program this week. We have the Rising Strength program from Joslyn Thompson Roll. Now, this is a Strength Plus app program. So it's only available in that Strength Plus app to iOS users in the US at this point. Unfortunately, I know a couple weeks ago, Rebecca had a new program that dropped in both the regular app and Strength Plus. This one is only in Strength Plus, but Joslyn's new Rising Strength program is 4 weeks long with workouts 3 times a week. And she describes it as it's all about building strength endurance, higher reps, better movement, and building on your existing foundation. We'll train 3 times a week, starting with 30-minute sessions. And by week 4, we'll be leveling up new exercises, longer workout, and an extra challenge to switch things up. And it looks like that week 4. So week 1 through 3, all 3 workouts at 30 minutes. Then your last week, workout 1 is 30 minutes, workout 2 is 35 minutes, and workout 3 is 40 minutes. So that's now available in Strength Plus if you want to go check that out.
Nice. All right. Well, we always like to share with you the past week's, this week at Peloton's rundown. And it was a busy week this week. It was packed with fresh classes and cultural celebrations. Kicking things off, Rebecca Kennedy dropped a brand new 20-minute EDM Pilates class, which was on Monday, August the 18th. It's an intermediate strength session, which is now available on the on-demand library. On Wednesday, John Hosking brought us a 60-minute summer strut outdoor walk. Perfect way to kind of close out the season. And if you missed the earlier summer struts this summer, you can still find, obviously Kirsten Ferguson's 45-minute version from July, and Rebecca Kennedy's 30-minute class from June in the outdoor category. Later in the week, Peloton, makes a little history. Nico Serrani will teach a 45-minute live slow flow yoga class from PSL. It is the first ever live yoga session, which will be streamed from PSL. As you know, Nico is usually based in New York as part of the yoga team. And then on Saturday, it is time to celebrate Carnival. Members can join a 30-minute Carnival celebration ride with Hannah Frankson, which will be at 9:30 a.m. British Standard Time, or a 30-minute Carnival celebration walk plus run with Justin Thompson Rule, which will be live at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. British summertime. These sessions are so fun. If you've ever done them in the past, I know Hannah does a phenomenal job. I can't remember Joslyn's. Hannah's always, she dresses up. She's got her towel going along, and it just brings all the rhythm and energy, of Carnival, to your workouts. For those of you,
all of these should be available in the on-demand library now. So if you missed them live during this past weekend, those should be available now in the on-demand library for you to check out.
Good. And then also just to kind of wrap this week at Peloton up, this month's outdoor run club at PSL was this past week as well. It was on the 20th. That was led by Hannah Frankson and Eric Yeager. And it also pays tribute to British Caribbean community of London's Notting Hill. So whether you're in the mood for disco-inspired struts, mindful yoga, or the vibrant sounds of Carnival, Peloton has something to keep you moving and inspired this week for sure.
Yep. And then if you haven't checked out the Peloton Tread yet, you might have an opportunity to where you didn't before. For the month of September, Peloton and Lululemon have teamed up, and they're putting the Tread Plus in select stores where you can check out the Tread, as well as one of Lululemon's new shoes. Adrian Williams went to one of those stores to do a kind of little activation and film some social media content that you can check that out. But the Tread will be in some locations until September 1st. And then along with that, Lululemon is also offering a discount on the Tread and Tread Plus to Lululemon members. Now, we talked about this before with the Lululemon Members Weekend. It is free to become a Lululemon member. It's basically entering your email address. But what they're doing is they're offering $300 off the Tread or $600 off the Tread Plus. So you can find that information in the Lululemon app. We've got an article on our website as well with kind of the details on that. This sale started a week or two ago, but it runs until September 4th. But as Amanda is going to share, if you don't want to fool with the becoming a Lululemon member to get this discount, there's now, as of this week, a general sale being run by Peloton as well.
Yep. So that is the limited time Labor Day sale, which will be through September the 2nd. With discounts across all of its hardware. So Peloton Bike is $300 off the basic model, $400 off starter and ultimate packages, starting at $11.45. The Peloton Tread also has $300 off basics and $450 off the starter and ultimate packages. That is starting at $2,695. And the Tread Plus starts with the discount off the $300 is $5,695. It includes the required expert assembly. So don't forget now that that's $299.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Like if you looked at there's some not funny math going on, but it's just interesting with how it works. If you compare the prices to as of last week, it's $300 off what you would have paid last week. But now that there's that expert assembly fee, it actually loads as a $600 off coupon when you put it in your cart. But then at checkout, you have to add that $300 mandatory assembly fee. So then your effective discount is only $300 off that. So that's kind of why there's a difference between what it says in some places versus how it actually loads as a $600 discount in the actual cart.
Yeah. Very interesting. Just to note though, there is the APR with 0% down if you're looking at financing. There is also special pricing for military, medical professionals, teachers, who can save up to $600 extra. So definitely utilize that. Important to note that the discounts only apply in the US and that the sale does end on September 2nd. So it's a short window for those considering to upgrade.
And there are similar deals available in Canada and the UK as well. The dollar amounts are slightly different based on which country. And in the UK, it's only the tread. For some reason, they're not offering the bike there. And in Canada, it's on both the bike and the tread. The Tread Plus isn't available there, so you can't get it. And then Bike Plus is not discounted for any market for this sale. So it's just, the bike, the tread, and then the US, that Tread Plus.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Well, a little bit of business news. Just wanted to share that Peloton had shared that they've created a new unified commercial business unit, which is them trying to bring Precor and Peloton closely together. So for people who might not know or remember, back in 2021, Peloton bought the company Precor, which is kind of a commercial gym equipment seller. They furnish equipment to gyms, hotels, and all that. And Peloton's kind of over the years tried to figure out what to do with Precor. A couple years ago, they were actually trying to sell Precor, and it sounds, they were never able to do that. So they ended up keeping it. But now they've kind of created this unified commercial business unit, and they're going to try to be, synergizing more. But basically they said they're going to, Precor is in over 80,000 facilities. And they're just going to be trying to integrate more. A couple months ago, we shared that Precor was on some of their devices going to have a couple sample Peloton classes for people in the gym to check out. So things like that, you might be able to get the Peloton experience, the Peloton classes on Precor, and just trying to bring that Peloton experience over to the hardware. But as part of that, they're making a executive change at Precor. The former president of Precor, Dustin Gross, is retiring, and they appointed Ian Reeves as the new general manager of Precor. So they've made a change there, and it looks like they're going to try some new directions in that direction. So we'll see what comes from that, or if some commercial gyms start to get a little more access to Peloton if they load those on Precor devices.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. It'll be nice. A lot of the gyms have that, so it'll be good to be able to have that. All right. Well, there were two instructor birthdays this past week. Charlotte Wiedenbach, in Germany, in London, German instructor, celebrated her birthday this past Wednesday, the 20th. And Kirsten Ferguson celebrated hers on Friday, the 22nd. So huge shout out and happy birthday to Charlotte and Kirsten.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Yeah, and then I guess, Chris, let's go into instructor in the news. And there is lots of news coming out.
There is. And our first story in Instructors in the News this week is that Allie Love shared that she has a son now. She posted a picture of her husband, Andrew, and her new baby in the hospital, a picture, and it said, "Meet our son. What a beautiful blessing this has been to expand our family, our love, and enter into a new phase of our life together." One interesting thing is she also took that announcement post. She took the time to kind of share that she acknowledged that she never officially announced her pregnancy. She kind of said that she knew some people saw those visible changes, but she just chose to keep that private. Let me just read what she said real quick. She said, "This was a conscious choice. The journey was challenging, and I needed to focus on simply making it through without the added pressure. I understand how pregnancy-related conversations can be sensitive and triggering, and it was essential for me to create a safe space for myself and others. Sometimes the visible changes of pregnancy speak volumes, and that was enough transparency for me during this time. Now that we are here, I feel ready to share." So she knew people were wondering about it, and she just took the time to kind of address why she made that choice for herself.
And you know what, Chris? I actually truly respect and admire her for doing that. I mean, everybody chooses their journeys their own way. But, just being in an infertility world that I was in for as long as I was, I respect her for, obviously she must have had a difficult pregnancy. Maybe she had miscarriages, maybe. And, we very consciously made the conscious decision of not ever mentioning it on the show, because she made that decision not to formally announce it. And that was something that we felt very strongly about. But, people were happy for her, and obviously people were talking and whatever else. But I do respect her for doing that. Everyone has their comments and throws up how they feel. But, huge congratulations to her. He's beautiful, and it is just very, very exciting. And on that note, we have another Pelo baby announcement. Kelly Gullickson shared on Instagram that her and her husband, Chris Howell, are expecting their second child. She posted a video announcing her pregnancy. So it's funny how different everybody is. But again, everybody has their own way of sharing their news. And Callie is very active on social media. But she shared her pregnancy with her husband, her son, Cash, who was born back in March of 2024. And their family dog, Charlie. She used Britney Spears' Oops, I Did It Again as the background music. She showed her son looking at sonogram pictures and her grabbing a jar of pickles. Callie said, our family's expanding and we couldn't be more grateful. Charlie's still figuring out what more siblings means, but she'll get there eventually. So huge congratulations. She did not announce a due date.
She since has. I believe she said it's going to be around the end of January, early February with when her due date is.
So she's quite far already then.
Yeah,
so
it was interesting. She actually talked about, and I forget where it was, but she kind of talked about her decision as well to announce it. She's like, I am announcing it on social media, and if you need to unfollow me, I understand that. Not everyone wants to follow my journey, but she then talked about, you won't really hear me talk about it on the Peloton platform in my classes. So she's making the decision not to talk about it there. She said she'll instead say, if you're in a life stage like me, she'll say things like that, but not explicitly reference the pregnancy. So she kind of talked about that and how she would be addressing it herself as well.
Yeah. Look, these are young girls that have just gotten married. It makes sense for them to be having babies. And I know it is hard for some people, but I know for others that, I had a girlfriend who was pregnant and she loved the fact that she could feel like she had a platform where she could go because she was pregnant and could then still continue to work out safely, through her pregnancy, watching this. So there's definitely, there's so many different plethoras of what everyone's going through. So it's nice that these instructors are aware of that and choosing to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we got a couple instructors who are doing events in the upcoming weeks and months. Christine is going to be at an event in New York City next week. It's in partner with Flow Space, and it's going to be a panel along with Dr. Vonda Wright, who wrote the book Unbreakable. And it says the event is called How to Age with Power. And the description is that they're going to have a frank, honest discussion about strength, holding on to it, building it, and thriving with it in midlife. So the event is going to be on Tuesday, August 26th, this next Tuesday from 5:30 to 7 p.m. in New York City. The event's free. So if you're interested in attending that, you can do a free RSVP. We've got a link in our show notes for how to do that if it has not sold out by the time you're listening to this.
Nice. And then Jen Sherman and her bestie, Pam Sunshine, better known as Sunny, are hitting the road again with dear founder host Lindsay Pinchuk for another live with Sunny and Jen. And this time, it's in my backyard. The crew are coming to North Bethesda, Maryland. It's really Rockville, Maryland, but for some reason they like to call it Bethesda. On Thursday, October the 16th. They are partnering with local community host Lisa Schneider of Pearl and Rose, a platform helping women to rediscover themselves midlife. Lisa had shared on her IG that 2 years ago, she had told her mentor and friend, Lindsay Pinchuk, that her dream Pearl and Rose event would be a girls' night hosted by her favorite Peloton instructor, Jen Sherman, and that it was finally happening. Early access tickets went on sale this past Wednesday, with VIP tickets selling out in less than an hour. On Friday, the tickets opened up to the general public with just a handful available. So I am absolutely thrilled. I can't wait for them to be here. I had to change travel plans because I wasn't supposed to be in Maryland when they were going to be here, but there was no way I was missing this with them being literally in my backyard.
Nice.
So really excited about that.
Nice. Well, one other event that just took place, Kira Michelle went out to Utah and taught a free yoga class there. This was in partnership with Utah City Sweat, which is kind of a mixed development that is in Vineyard, Utah. But it was a free event. There was 250 people. The first 250 people got a free Peloton yoga mat. So there were some free giveaways for the people. But it was Kira teaching a 45-minute yoga class, and there were some treats and hanging out afterwards, and that took place out in Utah. So, Peloton instructors are definitely getting out doing events all around the country now.
Yeah. And we got to see Tunde and Rebecca Kennedy live on New York Living TV. They were walking viewers through the different zones of doing strength training. So we kind of had Rebecca with the hosts of the show and Tunde barking all the instructions, but Rebecca actually doing the exercises. And that was kind of fun to get to see there.
Yeah, and then Cody Rigsby popped up this week. Google launched their Pixel 10 phone, and we've shared in the past that, Peloton is partnered with Google, so this might have been one of those things that came out of the partnership. But there were some social media videos kind of announcing the Pixel 10 and doing some fun videos, but it had people like Jimmy Fallon, the Jonas Brothers, Alex Cooper, Asia Wilson, Steph Curry, and several others. And then Cody Rigsby was in there as well. So, just a fun Google video that featured Cody this week.
Nice. And then Adrian Williams, if anybody follows him on social media, knows that his I'm not sure if it's his first love or his second love, but next to his Peloton is his love of cars, especially his Beamer. And we saw that he has now teamed up with JB Bodyworks and BMW in a, we think, new series that is coming soon called Turning a Negative into a Positive. Adrian shared that he was devastated after he was sideswiped by a tractor trailer on the highway, and wasn't sure if his dream car that he has poured so much energy and love into could be salvaged. But it looks like he teaming up with this Bodyworks, JB Bodyworks and BMW, we may get to see how they fix his car.
Yep.
We're not 100% sure when it is going to air, but that you will hear it here first as soon as we know.
Yep, and just keep an eye out on social media as well, because I'm sure I'll be posting that there as it drops as well. And then to wrap things up for instructors in the news this week, if you are watching the Little League World Series over on ESPN, you might be seeing a familiar face. Jess Sims has been out there providing coverage for ESPN the first weekend they were out there. I assume she's going to be doing it this past second weekend as well. But yeah, if you're into baseball and watching the Little League World Series and you thought, is that Jess Sims? It was. So Jess Sims is doing more, she does basketball, she does reporting on everything. So, she's really getting out there and helping cover a lot of different things for ESPN.
Nice. All right. Well, that wraps up our instructor in the news. There was a lot that happened this past week to share with you guys. I think we are going to go right into our picks of the week. And why did you kick it off, Chris?
All right. Well, first up, we got Rad Lopez, who had a 30-minute bike boot camp, 50/50 on 8/14, August 14th at 8 a.m. Eastern. This came from Julie MJ, who said good playlist and solid programming for the short amount of time. We have Callie Gullickson in her 30-minute Sean Paul full body strength, also from August 14th at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. This came from Gwen Gets Two, who said great music and a tough workout that left me sore for days after. And then Camila Ramon had a 30-minute Sean Paul ride, also from the 14th at 7 p.m. Eastern. This came from Karen Zimskaberry and Amajar 3, who said this was a blast, great energy and fun tunes.
And then even though he is off on paternity leave, we had Bradley Rose hit the bike with a 20-minute classic rock ride. This was from August the 15th. It was a midnight drop. It came to us from Casa Luke, and they said awesome playlist and class structure. And then Cody Rigsby had a 45-minute intervals and arms ride. This was from the 17th of August at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Came to us from Jennifer Carroll, 22. And they said great playlist and studio energy. And then
Sorry,
I left one
that was from Crazy K23,
You're right.
who submitted the Cody class.
I'm so sorry. You are so right. I jumped the gun here. Crazy K. Thank you for submitting that one. We had Hannah Corbin, who came to us from Jennifer Carroll 22. That was her 30-minute country pop ride. It was from the 17th of August, 8 a.m. And they said great playlist and studio energy. Let me just clarify that the Cody Rigsby 45-minute intervals in arms was actually from the 16th of August at 10 a.m. And Crazy KK 23 said the music, the vibe, it all clicked.
Yep. And then we have Jen Sherman, who had another episode over a 30-minute epic sing-along ride from 8:17 at 10 a.m. Eastern. This came to us from Filthy NYC and But Did I Die 84, who said it was fantastic. And as the title said, it was epic. Such a fun time. And if you take that class or haven't taken that class, there's you get a couple bonus instructors in there who are riding along live with that one.
And you really get to see the new cameras, because now you can get to see the shots of how they kind of, I don't know if you noticed that in the rides, you get to see a much wider view of those people sitting in the actual members in the studio.
Yeah, they can get some creative new angles that we might not have seen before without a lot of dedicated work to, know you're getting that one.
Yep.
And then Benny Adami had a 30-minute intervals and arms ride in German from August 17th at 11 a.m. Eastern. This came from Amajar3, who said fun 80s playlist. And then Mariana Fernandez had a 45-minute EDM run, also from the 17th at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. This came from Dr. Devon, who said EDM is the perfect music to run to, and her coaching was great as always.
Fantastic. Christine Durkley gave us a 45-minute low-impact ride. This was from the 18th of August at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Came to us from Jennifer Carroll 22 and SMS Suz or SM Suz.
SM Suze, maybe?
Suze, maybe. Yeah, Suze. They said her playlist is always great and her words were inspiring in this one. And then Sol Arian had a 20-minute arms and shoulder strength class. It was in German from August 18th, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Came to us from Amajar3, and she said, great burner. And by this point, Amanda, you must be fluent in German, because you definitely like your German instructors. I love it. And then we had Alex Toussaint had a 45-minute hip-hop ride. It was also from August 18, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, came to us from Kim Carve 11, and Schubert Ali and 86 Tommy, and this old lady definitely needs to put on her glasses, because I am not able to read any of these leaderboard names. I don't know how those instructors do that, Chris, I swear, without glasses. All right. They said Alex's hip-hop rides are always a vibe, and this was no exception.
And then we got Matt Wilpers, who had a 20-minute intervals run from the 19th, midnight drop. This came from Just Dance Lisa, who said great programming from that. We then have Rebecca Kennedy with a 30-minute rock walk from the 19th at noon Eastern. This came from M.L. Borsch, who said so fun, and she is so motivating too. And then to wrap things up, we have Leanne Hainsby, who had a 20-minute groove ride, also from the 19th at 1 p.m. Eastern. This came from Just Dance Lisa, who said groove rides are so fun.
Awesome. Yeah, and just remember, folks, that if you want to submit your picks of the week, we really love to get a nice kind of array of different instructors. Those need to be submitted Wednesday evening, so that so they're kind of Wednesday to Wednesday. So if you're kind of listening to this on a Sunday, you're thinking, hang on a second, there was a fantastic Bee Gees artist series on Thursday. Why are those classes not being mentioned? It would be because they're going to kind of be there the next week. So that's just a reminder.
On our Instagram stories, we always do a story, mid-afternoon on Wednesdays. Or if you don't want to wait for that, you can just send us an email and send it directly via email as well sometime on Wednesday, and we'll, get that into our picks.
And remind folks what the email is, Chris.
It is mail@pelobuddy.com, or you can just go to the pelobuddy.com website, and there's a contact form there, and it's got an email or just a form you can drop it into, or just send us a DM on Instagram, any social media platform, we'll see it.
Awesome. All right. Well, there you have it, folks. A lot more than what we've had in the past few weeks. There's been a lot this week, and I'm sure as we are now going into the fall and things are kind of getting back to normal and the studios are open, and although Labor Day weekend, next weekend, I guess they'll be closed.
Yes, so that's a good point. Reminder, I believe Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, all 3 studios are closed. It's all 3. Both New York and London are closed. And then
Do you know something I don't know, Chris? Is there a third one that's being in the works?
If it goes anywhere, I don't think it's going to go in the up direction. I think it's going to go in the down direction. But but Monday, I believe London will be open slightly while New York will still be closed. But Friday, Saturday, when there's a reduced schedule, it's because of the Labor Day holiday. But that should end. Both studios in New York, the yoga and strength, should be back open around that time when they come back. So when Labor Day gets over, everything should basically be back up to normal, and we should be back at a full schedule across both London and New York until the next random weekend closure.
I was wondering why Mariana's yoga wasn't live. Now I know why, because the yoga studio is closed at the moment. Okay, for the Bee Gees artist series. All right, nice. All right, folks. Well, as always, thank you so much for tuning in and listening. We brought this to you at an odd time for us. So if we're not quite our chirpy selves, it's because we're recording to the night, which we don't usually do. But we wanted to make sure that we got you a show because I am in New York this weekend. So I hope I got to see some of you when I was in the studio. Wasn't much going on, but I will be there this morning for Jen's Yacht Rock Ride. So I'm excited about that. All right, folks. Well, from me here in Maryland for right now, I'm sending you so much love. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening, and we will see you here next week.
And for me here in Atlanta, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see everyone next time. Bye.
Thank you for watching Pelo Buddy TV, your source for everything Peloton, by the community, for the community. Work out with us using the Pelo Buddy TV leaderboard tag. And don't forget to find us on Facebook, Instagram, and X at Pelo Buddy. Don't forget that we have a podcast available. Just search for Pelo Buddy wherever you get your podcasts from. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode.